Welcome. Welcome to Touching the Edge. Welcome to Coffee with Drake. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you have your beverage. I'm so happy to be here with you today. I'm happy because I feel like us getting together is part of what we can do to create a more positive world. I think it's really important that we all learn to go in contact with our intuition in a calm fashion and really come from that intuition and become active in the world. I think it's really important for us to really be active right now, not just sitting back and sort of being numbed by what's going on. And I think there's a lot of ways that, it's my perception anyway, there's a lot of ways that we can do that. And I'm interested in you as well. And not just heavy stuff either. I want to hear everything. I want to hear what you think is funny. I want to talk about what you find beautiful. I want to share. I want to share life and really find a way to really get into the juiciness of life together. And so for me, one of those ways is study. And maybe you figured out I like to study a little bit. And so I'm interested in, from all over the world, how people come to a more positive relationship to life. And one of those, I wouldn't say that I'm Buddhist, but I'm certainly influenced by Buddhism and highly influenced by the Lotus Sutra, amongst other texts as well. When I first began to study The Way of Zen by Alan Watts was a huge influence on me. So I've been hugely influenced by different parts of Buddhism, as well as of Christianity, particularly Christian mysticism, and elements from around the world. And so, in any case, it's interesting for me because in studying the Lotus Sutra talks about the Buddha, and they say that in some sense we, by studying the Buddha, sort of become connected to that energetic source. And it talks about compassion being the home of the Buddha. That's really amazing to me, compassion being the home of the Buddha. So if we were that awakened one and we use compassion as our home, if we are living inside compassion, what does that look like? What is a home? A home is a place that you can be comfortable in, that you can feel safe in, that you can be shielded from the elements, right? That's home. And so somehow compassion becomes our home if we're connected in this sort of study. I feel that feels interesting to me. He says that the Lotus Sutra says that gentleness and forbearance are his clothes. Gentleness and forbearance are his clothes. So again, what are clothes? What are clothes? Clothes are a way that we are shielded from the environment. Right? When we have clothes, if the colder it is, the more you'll put on. Clothes find it so that we are able to, present ourselves to the world. So gentleness and forbearance are his clothes. So somehow by being gentle, by coming from compassion, and from compassion acting in a gentle fashion with kindness, that becomes our clothing. This becomes what keeps us protected from the environment on another level. And this gentleness that we shine into the world, it becomes the cosmic mirror, because what we shine into the world comes back to us. So by shining gentleness to the world, it comes back to us. By shining hostility and intolerance to the world, you know what? That also comes back to us. It doesn't mean that we don't set limits. But we don't set limits by being reactive. We set limits by being responsive. And so with gentleness and forbearance, I love that word forbearance, by the way. Most of us understand forgiveness. But what is forbearance? Forbearance is one of those old words. I think it really helps. It kind of reminds me of that song from a long time ago. He ain't heavy. He's my brother. That's forbearance. When we're not just putting up with people, but we are glad to have the opportunity to care for them. As you would an elder who you have loved your entire life, you would have forbearance for that person. Forbearance really combines well with forgiveness, because on some level we recognize that who we are working with is our brother. Even if our brother is ill, it's still our brother. So, gentleness and forbearance, it recognizes a kinship amongst us all. And the final element in this portion of Lotus Sutra he talks about is that voidness is his throne. So his throne. So in this case, the Buddha is a king. He's a king of the relationship to awareness. And his throne is voidness. The Lotus Sutra says, how's that phrase go? All things are altogether the void, not large, not small, not born, not dying, no fault, no effort. All things are altogether the void. It says that everything is like a soap bubble. No matter how beautiful the soap bubble is, it will be gone in a second. And so when we invest in institutions on this world, or invest in putting someone up on a pedestal, we invariably end up with things shifting. That person falls from the pedestal, or we find out that institutions like government institutions, or even the Constitution, is not as stable as we think it is if people are not adhering to it. But we don't fool ourselves into thinking anything here is permanent. And as a result, we recognize that even negative situations, the most challenging of times, those are soap bubbles too. They will change instantaneously. And so anyway, finding these three elements, I think it's kind of interesting. Compassion as his home, gentleness and forbearance as his clothing, and voidness as his throne. Meaning that by recognizing that nothing here is permanent, it actually gives us power to step into our authenticity, our true self. So anyway, this is just perception, it's conversation. How about you? What would you like to talk about? Let's get together again. Don't forget, do it. Have some coffee. Have something you really like to drink. I'm going to ring the bell. I'm going to ask you to listen carefully. Here we go. So today, bring compassion, bring gentleness and forbearance, and remember, no matter how bad things look, it can change. I bring my hands together and I bow to you, my friend. Namaste. We are powerful together. Have a wonderful day.